Welcome back to another episode, Fight Stars Podcast. I'm your host, Madison. Today I have another special guest, someone I consider a really great friend, the number one boxing designer in the world. My man, he's a creator. He's just someone who's so incredible, has one of the best stories I've ever heard. My man, JR Zinzun.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
future.
the future.
Hell
And
yeah.
why do we call you the future, man?
It's funny that you say the future because I actually was given that name by a friend of mine who before he passed, I was actually when I started this brand, I got my own back. Like I was telling you before this, I was already facing court cases. I was literally in and out of courts. I was looking at 10 years in prison. I was being sued for hundreds and thousands of dollars, which that's a whole nother story. But during this time, I started a brand called I Got My Own Back after my overdose. So after my overdose, I really looked up to the brand like Tap Out, which was a huge MMA brand growing up. And the crazy thing was that when I started this brand, I Got My Own Back. I attempted to approach a lot of gyms in the beginning, but MMA gyms when I first started, because I was also doing MMA training and I was fighting MMA. So then during this time, it's crazy because I was going to a lot of gyms and everybody was trying to charge me a lot to wear my brand. They were like, "Oh, dude, $500 and I'll rock it," or like 1,000 and I'll wear it on Bellator or like King of the Cage. And it got to a point where I was like, "Dude, this is not easy to be a part of, like to do something like this." So I'm gonna be real. I was about to throw in the towel, and then I get a call from this gentleman. His name's Mr. Knockout, George Estrada, and he goes, "Hey, bro, I just heard about your company name. I Got My Own Back." He goes, "I'm gonna be real." He goes, "That name is the future." He's like, "You're gonna be the future of the sport of boxing." He's like, "Have you worked with professional boxers?" I'm like, "Nah." I'm like, "Right now I've been approaching fighters in MMA gyms, but they don't want to wear it because they're charging me a lot of money." And he's like, "Bro," he goes, "I'm telling you, you're the future." He goes, "Come to this gym," which was Boxing 2000 in Garden Grove, California. This was like 11 years ago. And when I went there, he introduced me to two professional boxers, Jose Roman and Jesse Roman at the time. They were undefeated professional boxers, good prospects from Southern California. And they were the first two fighters to ever wear I Got My Own Back. And the first time they wore them was at the Stub Hub in Carson City. And the
Yep.
first fight that I actually saw live was actually Andy Ruiz. So this was, like I said, 11 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that was the very first fight that I ever saw live was Andy Ruiz. I don't remember who his opponent was, but I remember seeing him fight that day. And then after the fights, George Estrada comes up because I want to thank you for sponsoring these guys. And they only charged me like $150 to sponsor them, which that was doable more than like the 500,000 they were asking me for. So he nicknamed me the future. He goes, "Bro," he goes, "Trust me, keep going because you're the future." So that, and it's funny because I grew up with watching the movies like Tron and Back to the Future. So it's funny that those are like my favorite movies and he nicknamed me that. So when he passed, I decided to keep that name as like something to always remember, to never give up, because he's the reason why I didn't stop. Because when I was about to give up, he called me on the day that I was about to say, "You know what? I'm just going to choose another journey." And it's pretty crazy that he called me on that day. And that's why I was like, that's why I always remember him. Like there's a day that every time I accomplish something, it's like
You think of him.
I think of him and I tell him like, "Dude, like you were right." Like
He knew.
it's like he somehow
He
knew.
saw something in you. But you've had such a crazy life. Like where does the artistic side come from? Like were you always into being creative, drawing? Like where does that come from? Because you've been through so much, you've done so
Yeah.
much. But like how do you're like, okay, I'm actually really talented at being this artist, this creative. Like I have this vision.
You know what's funny is that when I first knew that I liked, just because art can be in anything, it can be in clothes as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was a kid, I grew up in Santa Ana, California, right? It's just like the one of the most broken down parts in Southern California.
Oh yeah, I'm very familiar.
2-bedroom home. Like we had our family, which was 5 of us, myself, both my brothers, my mom and dad in one room, my uncle, his wife, his kids in his room. So it literally just like all crammed in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like we always had Mexican parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dad was always drinking, everybody was always drinking, having a good
Mm-hmm.
time. But I could never get into Spanish music. Like I don't know why. And it's funny because I didn't speak English till like the 3rd grade because I was going to Spanish schools in the beginning. So an uncle of mine who was kind of raised in California, he's like, "You want to know why he doesn't listen to Spanish music? Because this man was not meant to listen to Spanish music." He hands me a VHS. It says "Slippery When Wet" Bon Jovi. And I see these guys on there with big, huge hairs. They got like leopard prints. They got spandex on. These guys are wearing like women's clothes. They're wearing boots.
Yeah.
all these colors on them that were just insane, that I was just like, yo, this style's insane.
Yeah.
Like why are these guys dressed like this? So I became curious about their fashion. So I popped that movie in. I was just mind blown by like the rock star attitude, the fact that they like to stand out. They don't like to look like everybody else. They're kind of like rebels in a way, right? Which it's like they say it's the crazy ones that stand out. So in terms of fashion, right away I knew I was a fan of like even the clothing they were wearing,
Mm-hmm.
because I had never seen people dress like that. So automatically right there I knew that I liked clothes,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it's when people ask me like, how did you know you wanted to be a designer? I'm like, I didn't know I wanted to be a designer. All I knew is that I really found it in clothing really interesting at a young age. And then as I'm growing up, my dad, he was an artist. He drew.
Oh, okay.
So my dad was always drawing, and he was actually really good at doing portrait stuff. So he drew my mom. He actually, and the funny thing is, we had a soccer team growing up, because we're from Chilchota, Michoacan, Mexico. So a lot of the family members that came down here, they started a soccer team. And my dad, they asked him, hey, you know what, since you're an artist, can you draw the logo for the team?
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, there was no like computer graphic stuff. He just drew a soccer ball.
Yeah, freehand.
He freehanded a soccer. It took him like weeks, but he freehanded a soccer ball with our church. And then he even like did the writing, like all just like Real Chilchota. Like, and the crazy thing is that when he did that, he then, got in contact with a screen printer who ended up actually putting this logo on team uniforms for his soccer team. So when I saw him do that, I was like, dude, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so my dad, I can always say he designed like the soccer uniform and he designed like the logo. So I always watched him draw, and he's the one that kind of taught me how to draw. He had me drawing like all these like weird little shapes and things like that. And he's like, look, this is what's going to help you to become an artist. So that's kind of like where it started in terms of like where I knew I liked to draw, because watching him all the time. And, I started with drawing Disney characters.
Okay.
So I would draw like simple stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
or like Winnie the Pooh and stuff, because my dad was always trying to get me to do like the less complex stuff. And like I said, yeah, just kind of growing up watching him, that's kind of where my art started.
So then fast forward, you're trying to, design for MMA fighters. They're
Yeah.
trying to charge you,
Yeah.
which is just crazy because everything I've seen and what you're doing right now, like it's just the total opposite now because of the designs and all the athletes you've worked with. But so you're in there and you're designing, but how do you say like, oh, I'm gonna design trunks and outfits for fighters? Like, how does that come from just
So the funny thing is like, it's literally, now I'm over here. I started a brand called I Got My Own Back.
right?
And the name I Got My Own Back, I really thought it was a brand that everybody can relate to,
Mhm.
because we're all warriors fighting for something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the name I Got My Own Back, it's because like I said, when I overdosed in 2011, that's where the name started. Because then my dad's like, why did you choose the name I Got My Own Back? I said, well, because I'm so used to everybody having control of my life and my destiny. I was like the world's puppet, and I think it's time for me to take control of my own destiny, my own journey. And if I fall down, I'm going to get back up. Because sometimes we always want people to help us get back up, when in reality, we have the strength. We just don't realize that it's all a mind thing. It's all a mental thing. A lot of us suffer from childhood trauma, which I did,
Mm-hmm.
which I had a lot of childhood trauma, which was always affected my decision making.
Yeah.
And I always lived life feeling sorry for myself. And that's why when I started this brand, it's like, you know what? I'm going to create this brand with a logo that represents strength, that represents like a freaking badass, basically. And it's funny because while I'm trying to think of a logo, I didn't realize I'm watching the movie 300. And then that's when I saw the Spartan.
Logo, yeah.
That's when I saw Spartan head. And I was like, there's not very many that are willing to go through what we go through for something that we believe in, or we're going to die trying, which is exactly why I chose the Spartan logo. And it says IGMOB. Now, when I started this brand, it's funny because I didn't really know after my overdose, how was I gonna make a company out of this?
Yeah.
So since I had experience with holding mitts, punching, and all that fun stuff, it actually first started as a personal training company, which was called I Got My Own Back Self Defense.
Got it. Okay.
And then one day I went to the swap meet and I was like, you know what? Can I get a t-shirt made? I wanted to look a little more professional. I got some cards made at vistaprint.com. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just kind of make myself look a little more legit.
Mhm.
So I started asking some of my family members, hey, can I train you guys in rich people parks so they can see me and maybe in hopes that I can train them? So then I wrote I Got My Own Back on a t-shirt, and that's actually where it started, where people were approaching me and asking me if that was a clothing brand.
Ah, I mean, the logo is legit, man. It's
So
a
then
great
they're
logo.
like, hey, that's a cool logo. Is that a clothing line? And I lied to people. I said, yeah, it's a clothing brand. They're like, you know what? I want one of those shirts. How can I send you money or, give you money and I give you my address, just send it to me. So I was like, yeah. They're like, how much is the shirt? I'm like, well, the shirt's going to be $20, right? So then the funny thing is during this time, I don't know anything about running a business. I don't know anything about wholesale. So here I am going to the swap meet, buying like freaking 3 shirts for like $20, going and getting them printed. I'm losing money at this point because I have no idea how to start a company,
Yeah.
about a seller's permit, about any of that fun stuff. So yeah, so it started as a clothing brand, right? Which while this was happening, I'm kind of telling you the story so you kind of like know how I got to the clothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then when I did this, I realized like, dude, I like designing t-shirts. Like this is fun, but nobody wanted to pay me for it. I'm gonna tell you this. You could even want to start a clothing brand. And people will tell you, bro, if you start a clothing brand, I'm gonna buy your shirts, I'm gonna support you. In real talk, when it comes down to it, they ain't gonna be paying once it's ready. You know what I'm saying? Once you start releasing shirts, you start seeing who your real ones are, who your real supporters are.
It's usually strangers.
And it's exactly what happened, right? So it's usually strangers.
Yeah.
Until this day, it's mainly strangers that support my career more than the people I know.
Right.
So then the funny thing is that here I am releasing this brand, right? And to be honest, nobody really wanted to pay me, even though the designs were really interesting. Just because they haven't heard of me, they didn't want to pay me. So for the first 5 years, I was actually designing shirts for free. So I was like, you know what? These guys don't want to pay me, so I'm gonna make a different approach. Like I would go to gyms and I say, look, I'll design you a shirt, some team shirts. How many do you need? Let me get 10. All right, I'm gonna design you 10 team shirts. All I ask is wear the IGMOB logo right here. There's a t-shirt brand out there who put their logo out here, who they're getting known, but I was the first one that did that back in 2011.
Yeah.
So then I started writing IGMOB on the shoulders, right? So then everybody was agreeing, oh yeah, you're gonna make me free shirts? Hell, I'll wear them. So I was like, you know what? These people might not be paying me for it, but my name's gonna get out there. And in time, when I decide to do something else, they will become my customers.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, for the next how many years did I say? The next 3 or 4 years, free product. I was working 2 jobs. One, to pay my lawyers because I was literally any day now, I could go to prison for 10 years.
Right.
Right. So I'm literally battling that. So it's my overdose. Now I'm trying to get sober.
Yeah.
And during this time now, I'm battling demons and I'm also battling the court system. And then with my little bit of money that I have and me selling some of my personal belongings, like I was making t-shirts for fighters. And that's when I even got a chance. I came here and I made some money team t-shirts. I just designed like 10 of them. It got to a point that when I walked to the Mayweather's gym, there's a guy that came up to me, Dangerous Don Moore, Don the Champ. He was Floyd's sparring partner during that time. And then, I think they just fought in Dubai recently too. So then he comes up to me and he goes, bro, your shirts are way better than the ones that they're designing here. So he's like, you know what? If you want, I'll help you try to get, these guys here to see your shirts. So, and I even designed him some shirts for free. There's even one of Floyd holding one of my shirts. So it's pretty cool. Like I was starting to get to know people now from giving away free product because they're like, hey man, this guy just designs free shirts. So people were handing out my name everywhere just because, they're like, dude, this guy is just giving away free stuff. Like, and that's how I started getting into more gyms. More people wanted to, do business with me. And I'm gonna be real, I still wasn't getting paid for any of this stuff.
So crazy.
I still wasn't getting paid. I was literally coming out of pocket. My dad would come in my room. It'd be like, what are you doing? You're here, like you work 2 jobs. You get off at 11 o'clock at night. You're printing shirts from 11 to 4 in the morning. He goes, you're not even getting paid for it. He's like, and you don't even, I didn't have the machines at this point in my life to, those vinyl cutters that cut the designs.
Yeah.
Dude, I was tracing them, and my dad will tell you, I was tracing designs on vinyl and cutting them out with scissors.
Just to get them done.
Just to get them done. Because I did not have a machine that cuts designs. So I'm cutting letters out and just placing them one by one on t-shirts, little stars, whatever it was that I was doing in the beginning.
But let me ask you this. Do you think because you had your overdose, you had like a kind of rough life and everything that you were going through, you had court cases, was this like your therapy, or was this like
it was
your way of like escaping because you knew like you were doing something good for yourself?
Boxing saved my life because when I overdosed, trust me, man, like when you have addictions, I was literally losing my mind. I have a book that I still have till this day, where in that book I drew like, one day I'm going to design a boxing short. And I'm like shaking the whole time. One day I'm gonna work on a movie. I'm gonna work with the biggest name. One day I'm gonna direct my own movie. And I'm like doing like a vision board. And then you turn the page and there's like a bunch of eyes because now I felt like there was like eyes looking at
Just
me.
watching you.
So just like drawing a bunch of eyes. It was like it's like the movie like with those kids, those horror films where the kids are just kind of just like
Yeah.
That's how I was tripping out, because I literally was like feeding for pills. I was feeding for alcohol. Like, so it would be like one page of just like normal dreams, and then like me losing my mind, psychotic drawings. And then it'd be like, okay, no, okay, let's try to get back on it. I'm going to design it. So then I learned that the mind is powerful, right? And if you distract the mind, right? So I already figured, you know what, Jerry, you have a problem. You obviously have a problem. You're not going to go to no damn AA meetings, but you're going to get sober and you're going to go ahead. So that in my room, it was all dark. I had angels with wings ripped off. I had like freaking like demon pictures, you know what I mean? Like just a bunch of dark stuff.
Yeah.
And I decided to rip everything out. I just took everything down. I started putting up pictures of like ocean views, mountain views, just like life stuff, right? To really start switching my mindset to get it out of the darkness and to bring it into light. That's why with my Mr. Knockout nicknaming me the future, I started, you know what? I'm going to go into like more of a neon world now, bright colors. So that's why I started dressing all futuristic with the neon colors, the neon yellows, the greens, the pinks, all that, because I was like, I got to step out of the darkness and into the light. So that's why I started kind of surrounding myself with positivity. Now, whenever I would think about drugs,
Right.
I'd go on YouTube and I'd educate myself. Okay, I need to start a business, so tell me more about a business license. So I'd YouTube all these things. I became a business owner through YouTube and Google. Like, and every time I was learning something, my mind would start going further and further away from the drugs, from the trauma, from everything, to the point where now I'm educating my mind and I'm learning something different, while at the same time getting further away from where I used to be.
So you kind of just figured out a way for you to just really stay focused and away from the bad, was because you were focused on making clothes, starting a business, and you just kind of just made this self-realization, right? Just to make this change.
And I wasn't relying on anybody.
That's not hard to do. It's hard to do, but
it's really not. You know what I mean? It's really, because the thing is, I tell people, if you really want it, you can accomplish it. Because I went to a continuation school. I got kicked out of my high school.
Yeah.
Junior year, principal tells my dad, this kid's doesn't even have enough credits to be a freshman. He cannot get into any school here, so he's gonna have to go to a continuation school. So that's why I tell everybody, like, there's a lot of kids that don't try because of the schools they go to. Because my dad was my dad used to pick oranges in the fields of Orange County. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up with like parents that had to come here illegally.
Yeah.
So they feel like, because my parents came from that, because of my upbringing,
they make excuses.
They make excuses. And I want to be living proof that if you just change your mindset and you educate your mind and you invest in yourself, you can accomplish everything that you put your mind to.
This is crazy, because it's like, for me, just looking at you and seeing everything that you're doing right now with all your success, and like, you know, I see you on Instagram, it's like 4 a.m. and you're driving to drop off clothes, or you're last minute getting to a fight for a fighter's trunk so you get the last call, and it's like you're working, and you're working with like some of the best people in the game. Like, seriously, like, I'm just so happy to see it, and just hear this, it's like, it's really inspiring. And you know, I really hope that anybody that's maybe going through similar, you know, situations that you've gone through, like, they could see, like, you're a great example for someone to, like, really pick yourself up. You have to do it yourself. You really have to have your own back in these type of situations to really make something for yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly what I tell everybody. It's up to you at the end of the day. I'm like, God himself can give you the best advice in the world, but it's up to you to make that change.
Yeah.
And honestly, you have to accept that there's going to be obstacles. And I recently, my dad told me to listen to, my dad always tells me to listen to these, like, it's more like religious, kind of like stories. And then there was one that I really liked where it said, at the end, the guy says, you know, sin obstáculos no hay destino, which means without obstacles, there's no destination. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, a journey with no obstacles has no destination. I'm like,
you really can't appreciate it, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Once you get to the end, you're like, oh, that was easy. But if you go through those obstacles, it's like, wow, I can't believe I survived all that.
I'm gonna be real. I love the obstacles.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, I'm like, bring on the obstacles and let me figure out how to get past these obstacles. I don't want it easy. And I feel like when you ask to level up, that's why you get obstacles. So you're able to move into that next level of your life. And that's why I tell everybody, like, learned to love the struggle and love the obstacles. Dude, I was stealing my employees' foods because I couldn't even afford food. Like I'd go to work when I was working security and I would go into the refrigerator, get some of the food like on a plate, and I would just leave and go cook it at the gas station. Like that's how bad it was because all my money was going to lawyers.
Right.
And you got to understand, any minute I can go to prison for 10 years and I'm paying all this money. I'm working 2 jobs, right? I'm dealing with my overdoses. I'm dealing with my childhood trauma. Like I'm still dealing with depression, anxiety, all that stuff. And I was able to push through all that. Why? Because when I started this journey, I saw a light at the end of the tunnel and I was like, I can get there. I just have to go through a lot to get there. You know,
Yeah, no, I understand.
and now it's like I'm like, where do you picture yourself, JR? I'm like, I picture myself being at peace, like just having dinner somewhere nice where I can look around and be like, damn, like we're here now. And it's crazy everything we went through, everything we've accomplished. But now let's set some crazier goals. And yeah, recently when I was at a restaurant by myself, because an entrepreneur life, it becomes a lonely life.
Yeah.
Right.
I understand.
It's like when I was sitting there at a restaurant celebrating the fact that, things have gone well, I'm there celebrating by myself, but I'm like, dude, that's crazy. This is exactly where you pictured yourself. And now you are thinking about bigger things. Right. So it's like,
That was just a goal, one goal of many that you've set for yourself.
It was just one goal of many. Like I said, I did say I wanted to design for a movie. I designed for Creed 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did say I wanted to work for the biggest names in boxing. Dude, you read the resume. You know what I mean?
Canelo, Ryan Garcia.
I've designed for Manny Pacquiao. Like I've had like some of the, I've become a mentor in boxing that I can honestly say at my office, like I have a couch. You have no idea which fighters have cried sitting in front of me. And we've just both opened up to each other about life, about struggle, about what we're going through. And it's like, I've met some of the realest people. And now I also speak at schools. I speak at colleges. I speak to at-risk youth. I speak to foster youth, because to me, that's the most important thing. I tell everybody.
That's an interesting point, because boxing, most of the fighters, they come from humble beginnings. They struggle. They go through a lot of things. And really, when you get in the gym, you really see that's their release, right?
Yeah.
And part of boxing and combat sports in general is really that expression. So like for them to walk out, to have that outfit where they get to choose their colors, the designs, and you kind of make it come to life. It's like, that's their time to shine, to really like say like,
it's their moment.
I've made it. It's their moment, you know? So I could see them having those moments with you in your office, and you guys kind of like express to each other what you've been through, what they've been through, and kind of bring it into these outfits.
It's literally like a 10-minute conversation about the outfit and like 2 hours of live conversation. They don't realize that when we're doing that, I'm learning more about them so I can make these outfits more personal to them. That's why I tell everybody, like, I am not like any other designer, because a lot of them just collect. There you go. Have a nice day.
Right.
To me, it's more like, I want to know who you are. I care about knowing who you are, because I believe that we can all learn from each other.
I believe so too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I've learned so much from them, and they've learned so much from me, that I can honestly say one time that I ended up in the hospital and I posted it up on social media, I can honestly say that was the time that I realized, because I've always said, when I first overdosed, I realized I hadn't done anything. I was a mess. You know what I'm saying? I lived life recklessly. I was just, you just name it, right?
Right.
And then that time that I ended up in the hospital and I posted it up, dude, I cannot even tell you how much love and support I had from fighters, promoters, matchmakers, like people in the industry. I can't even tell you how many guys in boxing wrote me, I love you, a message about what I mean to them. I love you, and please, like, we need you here with us. That to me hit me hard, because I was like, dude, that's crazy that I didn't realize how big of an impact I've made on a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
That a man could tell another man, I love you.
Yeah.
And till this day, I still get text messages, just want to tell you, bro, that I love you. And that to me is like, a man to tell another man that's rare.
It is. It's hard to express those type of feelings.
And then we've grown up, a lot of these boxers, they've grown up with such a macho mentality that they feel like showing emotion is not something that's you're supposed to do.
Right.
So we hold in that emotion.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that it's such a release when you actually let it all out and explain what you're going through, what you've been through, because we really don't realize that we're all pretty much the same and going through a lot of obstacles, but we just want to act tough and pretend like it's not there.
So let's get back to, you started, you're selling, you're giving out merch pretty much for free.
And then I was trying to sell shirts outside of the fights.
Yeah.
I would be getting kicked out. I'd get kicked out. I'd go with my busted ass truck. I'd put it in reverse, open up the trunk. You know what I'm saying? Hang some shirts up, trying to sell them.
Just trying to make a
Dude,
dime.
they were kicking me out of all the fights.
When did you first get like your first paid
So
gig?
so after the t-shirts now, I'm literally trying to do all this right now. I'm starting to make a name for myself. I'm making a name for myself as the guy who hooks up people with t-shirts, right?
Yeah.
And that, I'm not gonna lie, the designs were pretty crazy. I'll show you some from like back in the days.
Mm-hmm.
So then from the shirts, one day I remembered I was kind of having like a little life moment where I remembered that I went to a fashion show when I was a heavy drinker.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember one moment I went to a fashion show and I remembered seeing, you know, all these, you know, the runway.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing all these clothes come out. And I remembered how badass like the designs looked and how this guy literally used fabrics to create art. And then in the end, the guy comes out, they introduce the designer. He stood in the front, puts his hands in the air. Everybody stands up. And you should have seen the way his face lit up, just seeing everybody's reaction. So when he felt that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a guy who at this point in my life has never felt special, has never felt accomplished. And I wanted to feel what he felt in that moment. So then while I'm designing t-shirts one day, I was like, you know what? I remember when I was a kid growing up watching El Maromero Paez, right? Like all those crazy outfits, Macho Camacho, you know, I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I was like, you know what? I'm like, I think it's time for me now to try to step into that next level. And I want to go ahead and design a boxing outfit, but I can't come into the industry with just a regular basic outfit.
Yeah.
I need to come in and I need to make noise as in like, okay, this guy is about to just make some serious
This
damage.
is different.
This is different.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I then started, remember I was watching the movie Tron
Mm-hmm.
during this time, Tron Legacy. And then I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to design the very first ever light up boxing robe.
That was for the influencer.
So the very first light up boxing robe, I did it, I believe it was in 2016.
Okay.
And that was for Mauricio Herrera.
Okay. And I remember you did one for Nico too,
I did one
right?
for Nico Valdez. So
Yeah.
the first one was for Mauricio Herrera. He was the co-main event on the Canelo and Khan undercard
Mhm.
it was the very first fights at the T-Mobile Arena.
Okay.
So
out here in Vegas.
yeah, here in Vegas, when it first opened up, it was
Right.
going to be the very first fights. And I remember on my Facebook, I just had uploaded, you know, I actually did my research. I had no idea what I was doing. I went to a few people to help me build this robe.
Yeah.
Now I'm in LA. I'm asking these fashion designers, hey, how much would you charge me to build this robe? They're throwing me crazy numbers, $5,000, $6,000. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
I'm like, how am I
right.
supposed to make money
Yeah.
if you're charging me $5,000? No one's gonna want to pay like $10,000 for this. So here I am now. I designed this robe, right? I remember I'm sketching it out. I'm drawing it. During this time, I'm on my way to Vegas with this gentleman who, this is actually kind of a crazy story. On my way there, this gentleman's like, hey, JR, I just found out that there's this badass fighter out in Victorville and I'm gonna go visit him. You want to come visit him with me? I'm like, no, what's his name? He goes, oh, his name's Ryan Garcia. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. So then that was the first time I heard Ryan's name. They're like, you know, he's going to be big. I was like, yeah, well, hopefully I can design for him one day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then this gentleman goes, you know, his way to Victorville. I go to Las Vegas, right? And on my way there, basically, you know, I'm thinking of ideas of this robe and I'm designing it. And then I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to come into boxing with a light up boxing robe. And that's what I did for Mauricio Herrera. And I uploaded it to my, now I finally found a gentleman who helped me design it, helped me build it for a lot cheaper. And then uploaded it to my Facebook. Mauricio Herrera's wife, Vanessa, sees it and she goes, who's wearing that? And I said, to be honest, I'm trying to get somebody to wear it. I just finished designing it. She's like, is that real lights? I'm like, yeah, I got these lights custom made in China. I'm like, it's L panels. They're even like washable. She's like, what the heck? I've never seen that before. She's like, is it cool if my husband wears that? And to me, I was like, yeah, when's he fighting? She told me he's fighting on the Canelo card. I was like, are you kidding me?
Perfect.
So my very first design in 2016, I believe it was, my very first design was featured on a major card, televised. So that to me was like,
and that's what kind of set it up for you.
so the funny thing is, it didn't. it didn't even make noise.
Really?
It didn't even make noise because people were like, they weren't accepting something new.
Yeah.
Even I remember I set up a booth at a boxing event, Ed Holmes show over there in Orange County. And people were like, the thing is, your stuff's cool, but it's too weird, man. We don't, it's like people are more like into this style or that style, which is old school, traditional, boxing outfits. They're like, your stuff has leopard prints. It's got Chinese prints. It's got too many weird things going on that it's not accepted. And that guy actually came up to me and he said I wasn't going to do well.
Wow.
The same guy that told me that I wasn't going to do well is the same guy that told me that he retired because of me.
I think I remember you telling me that
You know what I mean?
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same guy. And he even said, he goes, you know what? You could even tell people this, but I'm going to shake your hand because you're the reason why I'm retiring. Because I can't compete with you.
Yeah.
He's like, and I cannot believe, he's like, I should have never gone up and told you never to, because like he pretty much told me to give up.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm the best in the game. He goes, you should just give up.
He was threatened though. He felt, it sounds like he was a little threatened by you.
And now that I think about it, he was probably like, damn, this guy's doing some different stuff. And I remember from when I used to box, I hated how thick the shorts were.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, these shorts are so uncomfortable. So what did I do is I redesigned the short where it's more comfortable, performance, lightweight. You can make a luxurious looking short. Because I remember Floyd, he was always wearing leather shorts. And if you notice, he wears them very oversized, kind of like basketball shorts.
He does.
But why does he wear them oversized? Because he can't move around in them because they're made out of leather.
Right.
So that's why I was like, you know what? But there are leathers that stretch. So then I was like, let me build like the perfect comfortable short. And even Canelo said, I wish I would have recorded it. I'm sitting in his house and he's like, this is the most comfortable boxing short I've ever worn. And that's when I was like, I have something here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, so the designs kept improving to the point where when I got a call from Hollywood movie director Michael Bay from Transformers, from all those movies, and he even wants one, I was like, okay, I've reached a different level now of like, as a designer.
And basically your business is just word of mouth. People just, I know this guy, he makes amazing outfits.
He makes the best outfits. Yeah. And I mean, everybody always gives me like crap. They're like, dude, you gotta like promote yourself more. I'm like, honestly, I'm afraid to promote myself more because I have to build a bigger team first.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And like I said, like right now I'm doing 12 outfits for the creator class.
Yeah. Yeah.
That has
Congrats on that.
Thank you. That's, I'm not going to lie.
That's probably the biggest amount of outfits you've done
on one card.
Yeah.
On one card, 12
crazy.
outfits. And to have like a month and a half time on top of everybody else that I have to do.
Yeah.
Like you got to understand, I have 12 outfits. During this time, I have Benavides who put in one of the biggest orders.
Well, you did Benavides, his team, and his wife.
And his son.
And his son.
So imagine Benavides ordered like 10 cornerman jackets.
Yeah.
He ordered, I think it was a total of like 20 tracksuits, 2 different styles, right? His wife ordered a dress that she asked, she kind of had a vision and wanted me to help her bring it to life. So I was able to help her bring her tracksuit dress to life, which was awesome. And then after that, they wanted one for his son. So we made a tracksuit for him. And then he wanted 2 completely different boxing outfits. So that was a huge order. That's kind of like the stuff that Munguia orders.
And by the way, guys, he's using quality fabrics, and so it's not something you could just go buy and just do real quick. Like you have to actually do your research.
Honestly, I do a lot of research when it comes to the outfits.
Yeah,
I will personally tell them, look, these fabrics are going to be perfect for what you're trying to do. This fabric isn't good, or we could use this here, we could use this there. I actually communicate with them in terms of like, this will work, or if they have suggestions, I'll tell them, look, we could use that, but this is where it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
So I'm all about, because you got to understand, like, a fighter's putting his life on the line when he steps in the ring. So he's choosing you as his potential last outfit that he wears. You see what I'm saying? So to me, that means a lot. And this is why I am so crazy about even driving my ass all the way to wherever they are at 3 a.m. to make sure they get their fight outfit.
It has to look good, but it has to feel good because they need to be comfortable in the ring, and you don't want them to have any excuses that it came back on you.
And I'm gonna be real, the designers don't get a lot of love.
Yeah.
They really don't. You really rarely ever, they don't realize what a huge role we play, because they don't. I've even asked, I won't say who, but I've even asked this major company in boxing, why don't you guys have designer of the year? Like they're like, oh, it's because if we do that, then we're gonna have like all these other categories. And I'm like, but why not have those other categories to all the other guys that also play a huge role in this?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that.
I'm like, why does it only have to be just, you know, fighter, promoter, matchmaker? Like, what about all the other guys that make it all happen also? And then they feel like, well, I don't know if they just feel like our jobs are not as important, but when if you're really there and you
Mhm.
see the reaction, like the reaction of fighters when I give them their outfits, when they jump on the bed, when they put it on, when they sleep in their outfits at night. I've had a fighter who texted me a picture. He's like, "Look, I'm sleeping in my outfit because I love it that much."
That's awesome.
He's like, I've had fighters that call me like before the fight, I'm gonna win tonight because I have to make this outfit look good. Like your outfit just boosted my ego. I had a guy who fought. There was a guy that I had. He had 17 losses, and he found a guy who was like 32-0. His name was El Pez Gaitan a long time ago, and I designed him an outfit. And he says, "You want to know why I won that fight? My confidence was dead when I came, right, but when I got all my stuff and we all looked like a team." He's like, I felt that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the stuff that they don't realize. It's like you when you get ready, when you're ready to go out. You know what I'm saying? When you're going to an interview, when it's your moment, when you get ready. And it's like, they don't realize how important this is. Or like the story that went behind putting this together, from
Right.
sitting with the fighter to designing it to putting it all together. That's why what I'm trying to do is, why did I create this image now of the future? Like, and why am I out there more and doing all that? It's because I feel like I want all of us guys who are not really acknowledged to be acknowledged. Like, have you ever heard of a podcast that ever gets awarded or anything? No. Why? Because they decide who gets applauded.
Right.
So I'm like, dude, screw that. I'm going to be that guy who wants to make that change where I help get these. Like, even when I posted that I wanted to be the first designer ever in, the Boxing Hall of Fame, like even a couple people wrote me like, that's ridiculous. And it's like, that's your opinion.
You've heard that before, though.
Yeah. And I'm like, when they say stuff like that, it's like, all right, well, that's your opinion.
Let me just show you.
Let me just show you. You know what I'm saying? That I want to go for that.
Right.
Because I believe that what I do does play a huge role. I just need to let them see it. And if they don't see it, then I leave with all these reactions that I got a chance to witness over the years, which to me, that feels amazing.
I love that. So what's next for you then? I know you're still doing the designs, but I know you got some streetwear ideas you've been talking about for a while.
So it's funny because a lot of people that have been discovering me, there's been a lot of celebrities that have been discovering me lately. And they're like, dude, we feel like you're not getting the love you deserve in boxing. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like they're like, we feel like you're not. Because there's a lot of people who, like Benavidez, I want to give him like a huge thank you, a huge shout out.
Yeah.
Because what he did meant a lot to me. You know what I mean? Like he paid full price for everything. He paid full price, never asked for a discount. That dude's probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Him and his whole family, they're great people.
Family,
I love them
his
too.
dad too.
Yeah, Jose's great.
Jose, one of the coolest dudes I've ever met.
Yeah.
And the fact that he did a post, I've had fighters who remove my tag because they're like, oh, it's because you know, since we paid you, my tag is like this small. You know what I mean? It's the tiniest little thing.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that, like, you know what I'm saying?
It's like having Nike on your gear,
like,
you know?
Nike, I'm like, I've built a good enough resume that it deserves just a little spot, right?
It means something.
It means something. And Benavidez, the fact that he did that post, that to me meant a lot because that's how we're going to support each other.
Correct.
That's how we're going to all grow. You know how they say it's lonely at the top? I say it's lonely at the top because you didn't take anybody with you.
Yeah.
And what he did that day, thanking me, even thanking his sister who did the shoes, you know what I mean? Like that to me, like that's love right there.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I love it when they acknowledge, you know, the underdogs or the ones that are trying to make it still. Because there's a lot of people that do feel like, well, since I paid, I had a guy once who didn't even mention me and my outfit went viral. I mean, it went viral. Mm-hmm. It went huge, millions of views. It went, I won't say where it was because it'll narrow down who the guy was. And I asked them, hey, you know, is there any way you could tag me on your story that I designed the outfit? They're like, well, the day you start giving us a free outfit is the day we're going to go ahead and start tagging you. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, all right. So that's, you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm with you. It's why with Fight Stars, and I've said this before, but I want to help fighters monetize. And, you know, it's a struggle for them for their first 10 to 12 fights unless you're on like a big promotion and really trying to like not take that second job so you can focus on training. And so I'm trying to build this community and this ecosystem where if we all work together, we can eat together. So I'm totally with you on that. And it's like, that's the only way we can get better and we can make this community better is if we all start helping each other and stop trying to say like, I'm better than you, or I'm going to do it
These are
my
my
way.
doors. I
These
don't
are
want. These are
exactly.
my
It's
doors.
like,
I'm not trying to bring
this
you
is
through 'em.
something that boxing mainly, like, this one of the biggest issues is that that's how people think. And greed will always set you back. So
Why do you think it's the most unorganized sport?
it's just because there's just too many people that don't understand the sport, but they understand that there's money involved, and because of that, they feel they could just take advantage of fighters and people in general because they're getting hit in the head for a living,
That's a
And
whole nother conversation.
yeah, we could go on and on about that. Yeah,
That's a whole nother conversation, and that's why
yeah,
I try to help out fighters as much as I can.
for sure.
And I want to thank Jill Diamond. She's with the WBC Cares. I'm also a WBC Cares ambassador.
Yeah.
She invited me to the Women's Boxing Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went there, I heard like the tears, I heard the passion in the women's voices, and how they have no support. And that's why I'm not gonna lie. Ever since I went there, even the female fighters, I charge them way different because I know that if a lot of these fighters don't have support, women really don't have support.
Facts. That's facts.
And that's why I'm even like, you know what? There was a female that was in my office a couple of days ago, and I said, look, for your first outfit, I'm gonna charge you this much. And she's like, wow, that's not how much you charge. I'm like, I know, but I want to show you that I want to support your career as well. Because I'm not here trying to get rich. If I was here trying to get rich, I wouldn't have built such a huge friendship with so many guys and so many women and men in boxing. You know what I mean? Like,
your following is very organic. Like, if you look at who follows you, it's some of the biggest and best in the game, But that's just because of the relationships you built with them.
that to me is more important.
Yeah, for sure. That's good business.
I don't want you to just come in, buy something, and feel like, oh man, this was expensive, or I'm not happy. That's why I'm all about customer service, and I really wish I can be more with everybody on the phone, but
yeah, for sure.
I also need some time to.
I understand. No, for sure, man. And I mean, yeah, every week I'm always seeing you do something new, and trying to find that balance of being a family man, businessman. It could be tough and very daunting at times.
It really is, and it's funny because I was asking because somebody said, "Why? I wish we could interview you, but you're not a fighter." You know what I mean? I said, just because I'm not in the ring doesn't mean I'm not a fighter. I said, because we're all fighters. I'm like, I train with a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Right? I train with a lot of them. I'm like, I've lived with a lot of them. They've lived with me. I've lived their lifestyles to understand their lifestyles more. I said, in reality, you don't even realize how similar we are, except these guys, they're getting in the ring. Right. I said, but if you really check out both our stories, we're both going through the exact same obstacles, especially family, friends, life, people that we're neglecting. We've become, people even call us selfish. It's not that we're selfish. It's just we're so focused on what we're trying to do because we're in a very dangerous sport.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I try to tell. That's why I'm trying to get people to really understand that there are a lot of people that play a huge role in this sport. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that are not getting credit. And that's kind of what I'm here to do now. It's like, you know what? If we have to do stuff like this to acknowledge people, you know what I'm saying? That's why some of the names that I threw out there, I'm like, it's because I feel like they need acknowledgement for what they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of trainers, because we've never heard of them, we don't want to interview them. But they don't realize what they've done, what they've been through, and why they're not there, because the opportunities that it's really, we're in a really about who you know sport.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
It's true. And I totally understand what you're saying. And your story is amazing. The person you are, the man you've become. And I love seeing it, and I love seeing the progression, because I feel like this is just the start for you, even though you've been doing this for so long.
Yeah,
there's so much more you're going to do. And, all the things we've talked about.
Just 9 more years and that's it.
Yeah.
I tell everybody I'm just going to do this for 9 more years because business is good. Life's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now I'm in the process of buying my last name, Zinzun. It's almost complete. Contracts are done. And just like when you go to the mall, you see Louis Vuitton, you see Versace, Dolce. I want you to see Zinzun up there.
Everything you said, you've manifested.
I've accomplished it. I've manifested. Yeah. So I know it's going to happen because I'm not going to stop until I see my own store that says Zinzun, basically.
Well, it's been an honor for you to be in studio, man.
Thank you,
And
bro.
you know, as someone who's got your own back, I got your back, bro. Like I love to see everything that you're
Thank you.
doing, and I'm just really happy and proud for you, man. And we're gonna keep this going. We're gonna build this community. We're just gonna keep, you know, pushing each other and making this happen. Tell everybody where they can find you on Instagram.
You can find me on I got my own back _fighter on Instagram. You can even find me at I got my own back at gmail.com. Everybody that writes me, I do respond. To be honest, even if you don't want to buy an outfit, but you're going through something life wise, hit me up on there. I've even called people at like 2, 3 in the morning if they're going through it. So even if you don't even have to want to buy anything, but you just want to talk, just send me your name and your phone number and what you're going through, and let's get on the phone.
My man JR. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Fight Stars podcast. See you on the next one.
Peace.